fuck like a goddess.
All right.
And yeah, so I read it. It says, heal yourself, reclaim your voice, stand in your power, fuck like a goddess.
I heard like Till Swan said like when you're attracted to someone, it means that they are causing your expansion in some way. You know, when you feel attraction, it could be mentally, it could be philosophically, physically, like you feel attracted because that person means your expansion somehow. We met like what, like 3 months ago, 4 months ago?
3 months ago. Yeah.
And now you're back in Mexico, and this is the first time we are speaking in real time since our voice notes, like our mini podcast, deep podcasts. And I'm so glad that we were able to connect. So, where we have an aim. We talked about this as a way to discuss our way of relating with people and our spiritual seeking or inquiry, right?
Yes, correct.
And there is no script, so let's just flow. I think we should start with a little backstory of how did you come to Las Calaquitas and talk about how we met, and then we can take it from there.
Yeah, we met on my 32nd birthday. Um, and it was after dinner with my friend Luis, and he said he knew of an amazing place. And we came in, and the mezcal was amazing. And these beautiful people just came into the door and they're sitting and congregating. And you looked over at us from that beautiful congregation and invited us to participate in an impromptu confession or essay, a verbal essay in front of everyone on the fly of what would you tell the world if you were going to die the next day. And this was your summation of philosophy in life. This was what you wanted to impart onto others as your last words. And
In
you were
less than
very
1 minute.
specific about it. Yes, exactly, in less than 1 minute. And you had to have an introductory statement. And then you had to back it up with evidence. And then you had to have a summation closing sentence. And that was something completely out of my comfort zone, as is this.
You look so confident all the time, you know?
I guess it's years of experience of breathing. um, my mom always says to feel the fear and do it anyway. And that's what came into my mind when you gave this proposition. And yeah, so I did it. It was my birthday, and you recorded it too. It wasn't
Yes.
even just, it was sitting in front of strangers and giving a very open-hearted, just truthful, bare speech on the fly. And it was exhilarating, and it was amazing. So thank you for giving me a challenge to.
Okay, okay. So wait a minute. Have you saw it already or not?
I have not watched it. I have not
Okay,
watched
ladies
it.
and gentlemen, I'm gonna go inside Instagram and I think
No.
she's going to see it for the first time.
Oh no. I mean,
Yes,
I
we're
have
going
seen it
to.
because I was out of body and watched myself, so I've already seen
So before we see it, I just want to say that it was beautiful. Like for me, the experience of meeting you, because I saw you cross the room, but you were with a guy, and I was like, I don't know, like, okay, let's do something because Bella came in, and then we were like connected, and I just thought I have never done that in my life before that moment. It was like,
You
okay,
hadn't?
no, that was my first try.
How did you come up with the question? How did you come up with this
I don't
idea? You
know
came up with it on the
because
fly?
yes, because I am so inspired, for example, of the TED Talks that they can give you like 30 years of research in 8 minutes. So when I wanted to give talks, I studied that like
Mhm.
spinal cord or how to do a TED Talk, and it was
Yeah.
like, how is it possible that we can say, like, I don't know, like for me, 37 years of rock and roll in 1 minute, like pull it like the strings like a little bit the stakes higher. So I just asked around, and that's the amazing of going forward, because there's always like a nut next to you that wants to go and to explore, and we did it, like we all did it, like we were like 8 to 10 people at the bar, and we all just said like these amazing things. But when you said it, I remember, like I told you, like, okay, go, and you were like, whoa, 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 no, you have to set me up. No, no, and I started to breathe and blah blah blah. Okay, so ladies and gentlemen,
I just
she's gonna
can't.
watch it. Take a deep breath. Yes, you took it already. Yes. Okay, just let the magic flow through your mouth. Three, two, one.
We are all creative beings. We are always being and becoming. In every single moment, we are dying and being reborn at the same time. And how do I know? Because every single breath I take comes to an end. Because every single dream, every single fantasy becomes into fruition, either within my mind or within my soul or within reality. But it also ends and dies, and it becomes part of the soil that is my being, that becomes all of our beings. And we are all together, and we're all becoming together in the same consciousness as individuals, but all as a collective. And we're creating this experience together. And so me as Karina dying tomorrow, today, right now, in this moment, I'm already dead and I am reborn, speaking to you in a new breath. Does Karina exist? In a way. Perhaps.
It's an illusion.
But I only exist within myself and within your minds.
All right, so
So animated.
it's amazing. It really was like when in the part, like you like. Did you see the Jerry Maguire film that you had me at the hello scene? It was,
No.
but when you said uh, like I am already dead because I am speaking to you in a new breath, I was like, fuck, she's really deep. Like, whoa, dude.
it's, it's just interesting that um, when you pose the question, right, of what would you say? What do you want to pass on? You know, um, and I turned to Luis and I said, I don't know anything. I don't know anything. So I came up and yeah, I just took that breath and just asked, I just asked the universe to flow. And it was my birthday, and you asked me what to say if I was dying.
Your death day, the opposite of the birthday.
Yeah.
You were like, oh, I was going happy, and then this guy tells me, what if I die tomorrow? But yeah, it was great. It really
Thank
was.
you.
I think we could put mine too, also, because I I meditating like a while ago, like in this day, I felt about
Mm,
saying my initial statement because you guided me. Do you remember? In
I
the
did. I did.
Light beacon in life. Give us a catch statement, and then you have a middle. Support your statement and convince us why this is the most important thing in life and existence.
I don't believe in self love. I have been searching and researching about love through experience and through readings, and I found at the end of my research that I am none. I am emptiness full of waves. I am that vamasi. So love cannot be from one individual experience to another. Love is a vibration that exists to whole different vibrations, and every vibration is perfect. Just try to love, have something to put your mind into because the mind can go in many other ways that they're not real. 10 seconds. And share yourself to the world with love, with sex, with ideas. Tantric sex. Enjoy.
Sayonara.
Tantric sex. I love the ending.
So that's a
And
really good because in that I wanted to talk about self love and make my statement clear why I don't believe in it in a while. But I think for me, this talk, it's like if I could, give an advice to myself like 10 years ago, you know, because when I specified about at the end of tantric sex, it's in my way of relating with women. I've encountered like a yin yang, like this pornographic approach that we I grew up, like my first interaction with sex was through porn or pornography, like magazines or videos. So it's a kind of twisted reality about what it can really become, of of making love, through connection, through consent, through trust. It's like we're not getting nowhere, but we are in the moment, and it's like a totally different experience that I ask forgiveness for many women that went with me, and I was like such a lousy lover, and I thought that it was all about like going in like 5 minutes, like, oh yeah, the best 5 minutes of my life, and then I was like, oh, it was great, and the women, it was like, okay, so are we finished? you know
yeah.
and it was until I was with this amazing woman, and we read together the multi-orgasmic couple. It's a book that studies like tantra and many amazing things that of the it started like going through the um, genital system of the male and the female. And I
Mhm.
didn't know like women had this point that it's like it's called like $1 million dot, it's like a dot. And I didn't know that about myself. So that's when I began to experience way more fruitful, like both, like you can recharge, like this sexual energy can be healing, can be, you don't feel drained after like a conscious experience, for example. Okay, so that would be like my first two bullets I will bring to the podcast.
Well, it's just interesting that, like, with colonization, right? That we have this Judeo Christian sense of sexuality, even if we aren't Christian, through the insemination of these ideas that sex is really taboo and that the man is above the woman in this hierarchical scheme of things, and that, a woman is, it is believed for so long that a woman doesn't even have an orgasm. And I feel as though it's kind of this generational epigenetic sexuality that we carry as a culture, and we have to relearn sacred sexuality, because so many different ancient societies, indigenous societies, know that creativity and sexuality are one and the same, and that the universe was created from sexual energy, and sex is divine. But we have learned to fetishize this 5 minute sex, right? Or like, and being disconnected from the person, being more obsessed with the outer experience, seeing so many visuals that are unrealistic, that aren't pleasurable in the actual experience, but is like candy for the eyes, right? And yeah, I didn't know either that a woman can have an orgasm for a half hour until it happens. And it's from a really spiritual and connected space, a safe space, and just completely present and connected, and not trying to achieve this goal. But capitalism and neo modernity is always the next goal, the next plateau, like, fuck 50 women, and then, oh, but me as a woman, you better not have any sex. So it's like, okay, so I'm not allowed to have sex and you're supposed to have a bunch. So where are we going to get? You know, we're not going to reach these penetrating, pun intended, layers of consciousness and of reality.
Yes, and I think that, for example, if the thing I was saying about like telling me an advice for myself, it's like, it's like a big, like for a man, I can say that sometimes it can be a pressure to want to get a woman an orgasm, and then
Yeah.
in some point of my life, like we're learning, like you're exploring ourselves, our spacesuits, and I had this tension about making that, like having an some kind of achievement that I did it, I make it, but it was just tension in my mind. It was me
Mm,
thinking and losing the experience in the moment. And
sure.
that's like an amazing thing, that when I learned how to relax in the experience, we can be like childish, like explore, like just, like without any worry, and just getting connected. Like, are you enjoying this? Would you like more distance? Would you like more, like not having this plan, as you said, like perhaps you think that it's going to feel pleasure because you saw it, but you are not
Mm-hmm.
paying attention to how the body responses of your partner, could be men and women, and also I didn't know that like for me, when I had an orgasm, it meant an ejaculation. And in that book,
Mm.
they like show you like some kind of exercise for you to differentiate the energy of
Mhm.
and not wasting it. And for me, that was like, because
Mhm.
I consider myself a multi-orgasmic man, and I don't need to ejaculate. It feels different. But when like it's like a ball of energy, like around the second chakra or so, that you can play with it and you can expand it instead of just going to the climax and just, like drain yourself of this amazing energy. And if you go with your partner, like, like raising that energy and with love, with trust, you know, you can melt. It's a whole different experience about, yes,
About yes.
about, yes, 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 yes. It's like I didn't know, as a child, I thought like ejaculation was the shit, like,
Well, yeah, I mean, what, like, who teaches you, hey, you can have multiple orgasms if you know, hold the energy and let it rise and then pull the energy in through your partner as a torus of cyclic energy that you can raise both your consciousness and vibration. Like, there's no flow chart for this.
but we should do one because honestly, the first woman I heard of this about, she explained as the orgasm as a wave, like it has its peak,
Mm,
but for men, there's this point of no return that if you keep going,
right,
you're not going to be able to hold on ejaculation. So
right.
you have to learn how to serve here and release, and then going up
Yep.
here, and the aim is going high, 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 in full excitement, the bliss, the orgasm, the wonders, but not, like retain your energy. And it's amazing because it's like a wave, like of pleasure. Like you start going on and then you are in a wave, like you're in, you're out, you're in, you're out, and it's amazing, It's way better than the 5 minute shag, like a quickie.
Well, it's interesting that you say you're correlating it to a wave because I automatically think of my love for the ocean and how when you go into the ocean and you're not going for a swim, you just want to be in the water, and the wave comes and it pulls you and you go back in, and then you let it push you to the shore and you go back, and it's this dance, right? And then I'll get back on the shore and then I see the ocean. I'm like, oh my God, I just have to be in you again, and you jump back in.
Yes, yes, yes. You're right.
And it's just like the ocean, she's the mother, the womb. And it's how you dance with the womb and how you take the energy that she's giving you and how are you going to meet it and play.
Yes. All right. So, how can you say that your spiritual inquiry has affected your intimate relationships, like romantic relationships? Like, have you seen any changes in the way you relate to men, for example, in 10 years back?
Pretty loaded question. Just in yeah, so, of course, everything, well, maybe not, of course, but usually, like the parental figure of the opposite sex really dictates how you relate to the opposite sex, right? And um, the past, I'd say, 5 years, I've been really working on my relationship with my father, but he's not necessarily working on it with me. So it's been mirrored a lot in the men that come up into my life. And how do I respond to these similar patternings that I'm seeing? Um, yeah, my first sexual experiences were terrible. Um, the first time was without consent, and that's taken, yeah, a lot of healing. Um, and then I just wasn't attracted to, I never was attracted to sexual experiences. Of course, my animal self was really horny
Yes.
and desirous, but my spiritual side wanted to have nothing to do with it. So I really, it was a fragment within myself being a physical being and a spiritual being. And I didn't see the harmony between the two and the necessity of the two. I felt as though I had to give up one for the other. And living in a society so focused on the physical and material possessions really highlighted this idea of rejecting the physical for me. To be a spiritual person, I have to reject this way of life. And sexuality fell into that, just, oh, the messiness, the chaos. Um, I didn't see it as so much of a, the divine connection. And I wanted it to be, but the men that I encountered, I never felt that divine spark. And it took many years of the spiritual path and to re-enter my body and to go through sickness and almost death to be so thankful for being alive and being in this incarnation. And that allowed me to come into my body and feel strong. And then the urges of sexuality are no longer on this lower level of human needs, but something enlivened with divinity and meaning and purpose to connect with someone and really explore who you are and who they are and who you are in everything.
I think that's the way. That's the way because, for example, I don't know if you've read the, how do you say in English, Genesis, El Genesis, the of the Bible.
Yeah, I've read parts of it. It's interesting.
Yes, but it's like so weird. It's supposedly to it's I don't know if you've seen this meme that it's God, like the white bearded guy, and there's this tree, and with his left hand he has the snake, and with his right hand he has Adam and Eve, and he's playing with itself, the snake and Adam and Eve.
I've not seen this, but that's hilarious. Please send it to me immediately.
Yes, so it's God, it
It's
strikes me really hard that I just had like this meal with a friend, and it was this preacher, like some kind of order of Jesus, like the seven, blah 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 blah. And he was preaching all the table about the hell, about the blah, and I just stood there and I was like, we're not actually going to hear this guy preach about good and evil, or are we? And no one said anything until I stood up, and was like, dude, you're talking about words. So who created Satan? No, but God, but yes, the bad came from it and the good as well, and blah blah blah. And Don't confuse the finger pointing you to the moon to blah. You're telling me about words. I'm telling you about experience, self experience, about feeling the connection with the spirit through breath, in silent retreats. I'm not talking about words. Words are fun. And suddenly he just stood quiet, but one of the things
Mm.
about the Genesis, I didn't mean to be rude, but I had enough. I don't like preachers. If you tell me, if I say
Well, let
to
me
all
tell
people,
you.
if someone says to you that he or she has the truth, run, run away from that person. Okay, so I wanted to touch the point about the Genesis, about what is supposedly the first thing that happened after Eve supposedly took this apple of this snake made by God. So God at the next day comes out to look for them, and it's like Adam, Eve, and Adam and Eve realize that they are naked and they cover themselves with some plants, the genitals. And just God goes and, so what are you covering yourselves? Did you eat of the forbidden fruit I told you not to eat from? So that it's like the first step of shame of our naked body. you know the naked body that God gave us to each one of us, and we're supposedly to be covered because we were, you know and that's, I think that the guilt, shame could be this collective consciousness about that story, because it's the three rock stars religion: Islam, Judaism, and Christianism. The same story, the same kind of book. So we have, like, perhaps generations of not knowing that this energy is so powerful and it can be lost, O sea, it can turn sideways. And I don't think lost is bad per se, but if it's con consent, to explore some non-traditional, but the consent is important. But we can rise up the energy, we can use that energy to heal, to explore, to connect with the divine. I think so.
It's interesting though, the nakedness, the shame of it, and it has become inherently um defined as sexual too. Like nakedness, since it's taboo, if you're naked, it's sexual instead of just being free to be naked and be in your human body, right? Like it's the taboo is just beyond just being ashamed of your physical form. It's that your physical form is inherently taboo because of the sex that you could have, or something along those lines. Do you understand? Do you know what I mean? Like if you go
Yes,
to
I
a
think
nude
it's like
beach.
the pleasurable things that we have to acknowledge, that we are spacesuits, that we are, attracted to pleasure. We can feel pressure. Could be eating, could be peeing, but we
Oh, I
can
love to
enjoy.
pee.
I love peeing when I am like
Oh my
just
God.
driving my car and it's like 1 minute or I'm gonna blow up, like, oh, release. Oh.
Just love to pee outside, man. It's just like top
On the side of the
things. Like,
road?
no, like in the backyard, pop a squat in the
Yes.
woods, you know, pee in the river. I don't know. That's great.
Yes, in my house I don't pee in my toilet. I pee on the outside.
Perfect. Good. It's also water conservation. So you're doing
Yes.
your part.
Okay, so I have
Yeah,
a
so we're
question.
beings of pleasure. Okay.
How do you feel? Can I say that you're an attractive woman? Woman?
A woman, yeah.
Okay, because I've met women that doesn't like them to be called a woman, but it's like a
I'm a
non-binary
woman.
thing. Right.
Yeah.
So how is your experience of being this attractive woman spacesuit on Earth? Do you feel safe? Do you feel haunted? Do you feel how do you feel of men? How do you feel around men? Do you feel threatened? Do you feel loved? Do you feel cared in general?
I would say it's a very complicated issue. Um, because a lot of the times I don't necessarily realize the power that I have in my physical form, because I am a very complicated, emotional, intellectual, spiritual being. So um, the physical does feel a bit awkward for me unless I'm in a flow state and if I'm dancing or performing or something of that sort. Really like connected, but not self conscious, right? I would say that, so astrologically speaking, I have Mars Chiron conjunct in Cancer, which is a very feminine sign. It's ruled by the moon. Mars is the masculine energy per se. It's that really forward energy, igniting warrior. Um, and then Chiron is the wounded healer. It's an asteroid. So whatever Chiron touches is an area of life where you have wounding, and that through diving into that wound and working with it, recognizing it, constantly shedding light into it, and self acceptance is where you hold your medicine. So I have a wounding with the masculine, and I find that a lot of people are attracted to me, and that can be good and bad because I have such a deep inner life that I don't feel recognized necessarily. It's like this physical shell. So it's this duality between physicality and the inner world, and then also knowing that there's a power in this and wanting to be a true and honest person, but then also being like horny and human, and like wanting things to go in favor for me, but wanting to act righteously. So it's a conundrum, actually. And sometimes I'm so naive and trusting and have gotten myself in really terrible situations that, like, hindsight, okay. So I would say I appreciate men who are whole, who do their work, who respect women, who show that I am safe and cared for in ways, who don't push sexual things right away, who notice who I am on the inside, but then also can say, you are beautiful on the outside as well. And it's this desire to be fully seen and to have the masculine in their strong, secure, protective, like, I got you, babe, sort of masculinity that I appreciate because I am sensitive and I want to flow and I want to yield, but I need to have those boundaries and then also feel like you're not trying to take something from me. Does that answer your question?
Yes, a lot, like way more better than I thought about. But it's interesting because I think that I know you a little bit, but I acknowledge your deepness, you know, because yes, you have an attractive spacesuit, but when you spoke, like, like for me, physical could be attractive, but not as much as having a good talk, like deepness or connection or so it's like, yes, and I can feel you because even me, like I met you physically, I saw you, but when you spoke, it was like a surprise. Like,
Hmm.
fuck, this woman is deep. Like I didn't expect you to be. I am already dead. You know, it was like, and I talk about emptiness. And that's the kind of vibe like I am attracted to, and not necessarily in a physical level, but in a connection level. That's why I think we're doing this Zoom just to share ideas in a weird connection of voice notes, long voice notes. And yes, because I like for me, I am 38 years old. When I was 20, I thought that at my 30s I would be married, but I'm single. And I am great. I don't, in my experience, like every relationship I've had, I have lost it, because of me, of her, or for things in the universe. It's like trying to hold on to water, with your
Mhm.
fingers. Like when you meet someone or something that it's like exciting for you and you want to experience more because it gives you pleasure or it's a pleasurable sensation, and then like life had shown me to also remember and keep practicing and letting go. And as I told you in the message, my philosophy of flowing now, it's like our right wing is our, how do you say, availability to love, capacity
Mhm.
to love, and the other wing is to let go. Like I am trying to experience love with a person, like I feel like I'm sharing a lovely moment with you. We are sharing time, energy, wisdom, talk. We are connecting in our digital avatars. And for me, it's great. Love, it can be expressed in the moment. It doesn't exist in an ideal that I've had for many years, about meeting this certain kind of woman, and this like ticks that I can give. But
Mm.
now I am that, no, I don't want to force anything into my ideal. I want to live, I want to create, I want to love in the moment because there's no other moment, like there's chances. Like for example, after you give the talk, I was interested in talking to you, but I saw you with this guy that was like a long face, and I was like, yes, I'm going in, yeah, yeah. And we talked, and you recommend me a book about the breath, and we're talking about
Mm.
the spirit, and like for me, that talk is like amazing. It's like our minds go like, hey, and it's like another layer connection. But yes, I hear you, I feel you about. I think this is strange thing happening because this masculinity, it's about being, like clear, like with intent, like action going forward, but also respectful. But also there's, I think that in the vibe there's this wound about females that are mad to men for trying to get to know them. but
Mm.
there's this instinct that mainly if you see someone that you like, I heard like Till Swan said like when you're attracted to someone, it means that they are causing your expansion in some way. When you feel attraction, could be mentally, could be philosophically, physically, like you feel attracted because that person means your expansion somehow.
Yeah, there's I'm at this Airbnb, right? And they have this book called Fuck Like a Goddess.
All right.
And yeah, so I read it. It says, heal yourself, reclaim your voice, stand in your power, fuck like a goddess. And it talks about that. It talks about how when you start to yoke these parts of yourself that have been fragmented, and when you start really stepping into your power and shining your light, that people are going to feel that. They're going to be illuminated by that light. And that's the attraction right there. It's your spark, it's your essence, it's your divinity awakening, and you fully being yourself. And that's a beautiful thing. It's just, she also warns, you have to be careful with what you do with that light. And that's something that I've been contemplating. She said, like, if you smile at someone in a grocery store, you just smile at them, it could mean so much more to them than what your intentions were. And I'm like, man, I'm smiling at everyone. like so it's like, okay, where's the difference between, like giving love and share? Like humanity needs smiles and waves and things, right? But then again, if it's someone who's shrouded in delusion or hurting and just can't see clearly and they're unawakened, maybe they do think that is an opportunity for me to try
Flirt.
something or exert something, not even just flirting, beyond that, like more aggressive forms. um yeah, and what's the problem with flirting? Like flirting, it's just so many different blurred boundaries, right? Flirting can be super fun, and you know it's just kind of maybe someone's personality. And then other times, maybe perhaps it's where intent lies. Flirting is okay if it's fun, jovial, there's nothing attached, you're in the moment, you're having jokes, but maybe you want more. And so that's where the question of what is your intent comes in. Are you
Yeah, I think that's great, like because for example, I don't think it's bad, for example, that young kids start to explore their sexuality through reggaeton, perhaps, but I think
what are
it is.
young kids? What are we talking?
I don't know. I've heard some stories, like these videos about young kids, playing reggaeton and just getting sexual, that there were way more daring games that I used to play in high school, like they're heating up. But I
like
think that
like
in the meantime that you are exploring, if you are already, like naked and want to explore, just be loving, just ask. Like communication, I think it's the best thing that we can still learn how to communicate how we want to be loved, what it feels right, what it doesn't, like set boundaries and just learn how to express each other and hear each other, because it can be so helpful, for both parties if if we all woke up with a big massive orgasm in the mornings, all the world would be different. Like you will step out of your house and go into work like ta-da,
I
ta-da.
vote you for world leader.
Orgasms for everyone. Full body orgasms for everyone in the mornings. 7 a.m. Everyone in the government channel. Okay, rise your kundalini and feel your whole body orgasm. Oh my god.
Oh my God, I think you did it. I think you just solved like you world peace.
World
Like,
peace solution. All right.
awesome. Great. I think we're done. So
Yes.
how are we going to implement it? Yeah.
We
Yeah.
actually, so question. Have you ever felt a full body orgasm
Yes.
by yourself or with another guy or
With
woman?
another guy.
Okay.
Both. Both.
All right. All right. Perhaps we could start like this. I don't know, one day on, one day off, like morning meditations about how to.
What do you mean? Like broadcasting this?
Yes, for people that want to
Yeah.
learn how to feel their sexual
Yeah,
energy
it's
from within.
just it's been I just can't believe how transformative it has been for me stepping into my sexuality in that way and just seeking for years, many different modalities and philosophies. And um, it just feels like that was the missing part. I had the discipline, meditation, just amazing transcendental and grounding experiences in nature. But it wasn't until I accepted myself as a sexual being that I truly feel luminous in a way that I never have before. So I think it's really important work and just feeling your own power and pleasure. And I've been really love, I love sex in nature. And even just like, this sounds really weird, but having sex with nature. Like the other night, a thunderstorm came in and there was lightning. It was just shaking the house. And it's hot. So I was already naked and I just laid out on the bed and just imagined the rain and the thunder coming up through my bodies and through my auric field and just feeling the wind on my body and saying, yes, like I love you, and making love to everything, making love to nature and the universe and the cosmos and yourself and your partner.
Amazing. Yes, we should. Yes, we should start some kind of meditations or something because I think it's really important because whatever there's like this kind of fight that I don't see a fight between masculine and feminine and the all the consonants, the LGBTQYC, transpersonal, transanimal, transspecies, trans. I mean, like, whoa, dude. I don't think there's a war because I do think that there these primary forces that is feminine and masculine, like in every aspect of the emptiness and the energy, the void and the energy, like Shiva Shakti.
Mhm.
That I learned from this tantra course I took about Shiva being the space that holded space for Shakti, that was the energy flowing in space. And for example, for me, it's really important to know that we are both. Sometimes we can hold space for our partner if he or she feels emotional, just hold space. It can be the male, the female, or the whatever consonant you identified with. But at the extremes, there's like this male energy and this female energy, and in the middle there are all the colors. We can have, I feel more feminine than masculine, for example, in my life. I'm more drawn into
Mm.
art, into meditation, into tenderness, but it doesn't mean I am attracted to other men, but
Yeah, but you have this like very expansive personality. You're not afraid to speak your mind. You're like very gregarious and out there, and those are very masculine qualities. Masculine.
I am thinking, I think I am like, all my life when I told I was a Leo, they were like, "Oh, so you should be like the center of attention." And I was like, "No, I am the drummer. I am in the back of the stage. I Most of the photos, I don't see myself, because there's
Yeah,
fog
yeah.
and smoke. I am at the back. I'm a music producer behind the mixer.
Yeah,
I am not at the
yeah,
front.
yeah.
But it's been like when I gave my first talk and I put the the chairs in a spiral way. I thought there were like 20 people coming, but there were like 90 or 100. There were people standing up. So my balls, I just opened the door and I saw people and just my balls, I could say and you could see my balls in my throat, like, and then they were,
I didn't know that that's what that feeling was. I felt that too.
yes, your ovaries could be,
I didn't know it was my balls were in my throat.
your female balls. So when I was
Yeah.
in the center of it, like I am realizing that I do like attention, but it was like going over my biggest fear at the moment. It was like 4 or 5 years ago, and that was public speaking. If you told me like 10 years ago, would you ever give a talk for Juan Gondo? I was like, fuck no, not a chance. But then I was so nervous and I wanted to run. I was entering the stage and I went to like fuck it, airplane mode, run, and don't answer anyone anymore, never. But after 20 minutes, I felt this joy, like inner joy,
Mm.
that it wasn't from the ego, it was like from the soul, like in this inner joy, like I thought, like, I've got this shit. I know my shit, I'm gonna put you just a little bit of that because we have been talking for almost an hour and it feels like
Really?
2 minutes.
Oh wow.
um,
We were talking about Shiva and Shakti and, how Shiva holds space and Shakti is that creative energy that comes through. And of course, that's represented in quantum physics, right? Like the particle wave duality. We are both. We are the particle and the wave. We are the space and the energy moving through it. And when you point your focus on one, it's a particle, and the other, it's a wave. So that also kind of transcends into this non binary, masculine, feminine duality that doesn't exist until you quantify each of those qualities, right?
until the observer comes in, right?
Mm-hmm. Yeah. So you're a particle wave, you're a wavicle, you're waving and particling with your Leo extroverted but don't want to be but kind of are but are into feminine things.
I'm getting out of the closet of the extroverted version of myself. Okay, so are you ready? I don't know if you've seen a little bit of this, but I think it's worth. Yeah,
I had no idea what was going on for a second there. I was like, oh my God.
so this was my talk. I put a video of a song tool because this talk was for all of my friends and family. I have like Christian aunts, friends that studied
Oh,
physics,
sh-
or shamans, ayahuasca, singers, psychiatrists, psychologists. It was for, it was a whole. So I just put this video just to, okay, so this is what it's going to be about. Okay, so grab your seats. This song is amazing. You should look for it. It's Parable from Tool. So then I went out and I give the talk.
Entonces, eso es como algo que les quiero dejar, es las sensaciones del cuerpo. El cuerpo tiene mensajes que darnos, el cuerpo sabe por qué. Yo desde chiquito, yo me imaginaba que había
This was myself as a child.
como atrás de mi cabeza.
So yeah, it was a bunch of people, and I felt for once the Leo. Okay, so I'm gonna take 1 minute to go to do something real quick.
yeah. Okay. Where did she put that? Yeah. So see you in a minute. We're getting more myself. Okay. Cool.
So
Too bad. Maybe. What did you go do? You're not gonna tell me.
Corina, can you heal me?
Yeah.
Can you hear me?
Heal you? Heal you or hear you?
¿Me escuchas?
Let's see.
Yeah. Okay, so what do you say if we can wrap it up?
Yeah. Well, put a bow on it. put a We didn't dive into your first sexual, well, we kind of did, but can leave it at that.
Into my first sexual what?
Oh, you asked a lot of questions. I need to get better at answering them. I meant to say asking.
I think I talked too
Oh my
much.
God. You talk too much? No. I'd rather you talk than me.
Okay,
Okay.
so what
You are
question?
the professional. No, you're the professional. You go ahead and wrap this sucker up.
Okay, but what was your last question about my first sexual what, like experience or?
I was just making an allusion to the beginning of our conversation. It was more of a joke than an actual question.
All right. All right. Okay, I think my first sexual experience it lasted like less than 3 minutes.
At least it's quick.
But it felt great, because before that I only knew masturbation. And the first time like you realize like, oh my god, it can feel way much better.
But like women aren't really taught or don't really naturally, that maybe that's a lot of times I've found, I'm not going to do an umbrella statement, but women start masturbating kind of later. So, like, my experience was I had sex before I ever masturbated. It was terrible, you know? And
Your
then it had to
masturbation
be
or
like
sex?
sex. And then I was like, fuck this sex sucks. And my mom's like, yeah, of course, like, you need to masturbate and you need to give yourself an orgasm. And then finally I did it and I was like, oh yeah, like, okay, here we go. So it's the exact opposite. Like, sex is bad, and then masturbation is like, yeah, okay. Now we've got to train. We've got to train the guys. Kidding, but it's like,
Train the what?
all learning, and then the men.
Yes.
Yes,
Yes, and I think
I'm
that
saying yes.
yes, we need to hear about this because there's no better thing as a man of witnessing how a flower unfolds right before your eyes.
Mm,
It's really different to try to push to enter a flower as a hummingbird, for example. And it's really different when the flower just opens to you and you are welcome, and we should always, as men, ask permission to enter the temple, it's just a sentence like, am I allowed to enter? And honestly, no, or honestly, welcome. And that's why I don't understand the consonant members, because I think that the lingam and the joni has this amazing design to coexist with each other. But it takes time to know how much time a flower needs to bloom. You know, I am putting this image on my film of that, like a closed flower and a hummingbird just flying and waiting, just waiting until the flower blooms and not entering before that,
hmm
because, and that's what I think that most men do not get. You know, if you think about sexual abuse, about trying to go beyond the boundaries of a woman and touch her without you being welcome, or rape or something, what actually I think that my fellow men's, I am a man and I think that I speak from all of us, what we really want is that a woman, what we're having this exploration, can have a great time also. That's what we really want, because it's not until you witness that you can hold space for a woman's orgasmic energy, and behold that state, that you feel great because she's feeling great. You know, it's like the drive, like the animal instinct of trying to go there without you being welcome. And I know it's hard, for a man to conquer a woman. It can be difficult to say hello, to arrive and, hi, would you like that, or blah, and conquer a woman's heart and mind, and go to explore the sexual dimension instead of you trying to go from here to there. And it can be hard, it can be awkward. That's why we are in so many platforms of Tinder, because we want connection, but in the real time in a coffee shop, like, it's weird. It can be weird to get to want to know in in a really honest way. I want to know you, and that's why I think like seduction and attraction could be a great tool, to learn how to do it, to cover our spiritual urges and animal urges and sex urges, because we both sexes enjoy sex when they trigger you the right buttons, and you trigger your partner the right buttons in the right order. There's nothing else better than tantric experience. That's me wrapping up.
Great. End scene. Okay.
Your turn.
No, that was it. And unrecord.
Okay,
No.
so should we stop this? 22:44.
Yes.
Okay, stop this. Thank you for all
Yeah.
the watchers. Help. Thank you.